Welcome back to Starborn Tales, where ordinary lives meet extraordinary fates. Today, in The Visitors, we step into Greenhill Village, a peaceful world about to be shattered forever. The morning sun painted the valley gold. Thomas stood in his wheat field, watching the stalks sway in the gentle breeze. His hands were rough from years of work, but his heart was light. This was the best harvest season Greenhill Village had seen in a decade. The wheat grew tall and strong. The apple orchards burst with red fruit. The cattle grazed on hillsides so green they looked painted. Papa, his daughter Maria, ran to the field, her dark hair flying behind her. She was 12 years old and loved the farm more than anything. The tomatoes are ready. Come see. Thomas smiled and followed her to the garden. Fat red tomatoes hung heavy on the vines. Maria picked one and bit into it. Juice ran down her chin. She laughed, and Thomas laughed with her. Life was good. Life was simple. Life was safe. The village had 300 people. Everyone knew everyone. Old Mrs. Chin baked bread every morning. The smell drifted through the streets and made stomachs rumble. Young couples walked hand in hand past the fountain in the square. Children played soccer in the fields after school. Farmers traded vegetables and stories at the weekend market. Greenhill sat in a valley surrounded by 10 smaller villages. Together, they formed a community of nearly 2,000 souls. They shared resources and helped each other during hard times. When storms came, neighbors rebuilt fallen barns together. When illness struck, healers traveled between villages with medicine and care. This was how people lived here. This was how they had always lived. Thomas walked back to his house as the sun climbed higher. His wife Elena was hanging laundry on the line. She hummed an old song her grandmother taught her. The white sheets flapped in the wind like flags of peace. "Good morning?" she asked, though it was nearly noon. "The best morning," Thomas said. He kissed her cheek. "The harvest will be magnificent. Then we will have a magnificent feast," Elena said. She smiled and her whole face lit up. After 20 years of marriage, that smile still made Thomas feel like a young man. That afternoon, everything changed. The sky began to hum. At first, people thought it was thunder, but the sound was different. It was smooth and constant, like a giant tuning fork vibrating in the air. Thomas stepped outside and looked up. Other villagers did the same. They gathered in the streets, shading their eyes against the sun, searching for the source of the sound. Then they saw it, a shape descended from the clouds. It was enormous, bigger than the village church, bigger than 10 churches. The object was silver and perfectly smooth. It had no wings, no engines that anyone could see, yet it floated down as gently as a feather. Light rippled across its surface like water. The ship landed in the main field outside the village. Grass flattened beneath it in perfect circles. The humming stopped. Silence fell over Greenhill like a blanket. No one spoke. No one moved. Hearts pounded. Breath caught in throats. Thomas grabbed Maria's hand. Elena stood beside him, her fingers tight on his arm. The entire village stood frozen, watching the silver ship sit motionless in their field. Then a door appeared. It simply formed in the side of the ship, a rectangular opening where solid metal had been a moment before. Light spilled out, white and pure. Figures emerged. They were tall, taller than any human. Their bodies were slender and graceful. Their skin was pale blue, smooth like polished stone. They had large eyes, dark and deep as wells. They wore clothing that shimmered, changing colors as they moved. 3 of them stepped onto grass. They moved slowly, carefully, as if they didn't want to frighten anyone. The one in front raised a hand. It was a gesture of peace. Universal. Simple. Mayor Hendricks was the first to move. He was an old man, 73 years old, with white hair and a thick beard. He had been mayor for 30 years. He had seen droughts and floods and storms. But he had never seen this. He walked forward slowly. His hands trembled, but he kept them steady. He stopped 10 feet from the aliens. The being in front tilted its head, studying him. Then it spoke. The voice was strange. It sounded like wind chimes and flowing water mixed together. But somehow, impossibly, the words were clear. "We come in peace," the being said. We mean no harm to your world. Mayor Hendricks cleared his throat. His voice shook. Welcome to Green Hill Village. Welcome to Earth. The being's face changed. It might have been a smile. We have traveled far to see your world. We have heard it is beautiful. We wish only to observe, to learn, to understand. Relief swept through the crowd like a wave. People began to murmur. Children peeked out from behind their parents. Thomas felt Elena's grip loosen on his arm. You are welcome here, Mayor Hendricks said. His voice grew stronger. We are simple people, farmers. We have food and water to share. Stay as long as you wish. The aliens bowed their heads. It was a gesture of gratitude. The tension broke. People began to smile. Someone laughed nervously. The sound spread like fire catching dry wood. Over the next 3 days, the aliens walked through Green Hill. They observed everything with those deep, dark eyes. They watched farmers work in the fields. They examined the cattle and sheep. They studied the orchards and gardens. They recorded everything with small devices that glowed softly in their hands. The aliens were polite. They never touched anything without permission. They asked questions in their strange musical voices. They seemed genuinely fascinated by the simplest things. How wheat grew, how bread was baked, how children played. Maria followed them everywhere. She wasn't afraid. She asked them questions too. Where did they come from? What was their world like? Did they have children? The alien named Kale seemed to be their leader. He answered Maria's questions patiently. He told her about a world far away, where cities floated in the sky and oceans were made of liquid crystal. He told her about technology beyond imagination, about ships that could cross galaxies in the blink of an eye. Why come here then? Maria asked, if your world is so advanced. Kale looked at her with those bottomless eyes. Because beauty is not measured by technology, he said. Your world has something ours lost long ago. Simplicity, peace, connection to the earth. Maria smiled. She believed him. Everyone believed him. On the third night, the village held a feast. Long tables were set up in the square. People brought food from their homes. Roasted chicken and beef, fresh bread and butter, salads made from garden vegetables, pies filled with apples and berries, jugs of cold milk and sweet cider. The aliens sat at the tables with the villagers. They didn't eat much, but they seemed to enjoy the company. Children sat near them, fascinated. Adults told stories and laughed. Music played. Someone brought out a guitar. Old songs filled the air. Thomas sat with his family, watching Kale speak with Mayor Hendricks. The alien leader seemed relaxed, almost happy. Thomas felt a warmth in his chest. This was a moment he would remember forever. The night humans and aliens shared a meal under the stars. Elena leaned against him. They're not so different, she whispered. No, Thomas agreed. Not so different at all. Maria danced with other children near the fountain. Her laughter rang out clear and bright. Thomas closed his eyes and listened. He wanted to remember this sound, this perfect moment of joy and peace. But perfection never lasts. On the fourth morning, Thomas woke to silence. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. The kind that means something is wrong. He dressed quickly and went outside. The streets were empty. No one was baking bread. No one was opening shops. No one was walking to the fields. Everyone was gathered in the square. They stood in a tight crowd, staring at the alien ship. Something had changed overnight. The ship was no longer alone. 3 more ships had arrived. They hovered in the sky above the valley, dark shapes against the dawn. They were larger than the first ship, much larger. Their surfaces were black instead of silver. They looked like predators waiting to strike. Kale stood in front of the original ship. The other 2 aliens flanked him, but they looked different now. Their posture had changed. They stood rigid military. Their eyes were cold. Mayor Hendricks approached them. His face was pale. What's happening? Why are more ships here? Kale didn't smile. He didn't bow. He simply stared at the mayor with empty eyes. Plans change, Kale said. His voice had lost its musical quality. It was flat now, cold. We came to observe. We observed. Your world is rich. Your resources are abundant. Your defenses are non-existent. The crowd murmured. Fear rippled through them like wind through wheat. What are you saying? Mayor Hendricks asked. His voice cracked. We are saying thank you. Kale replied. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for showing us everything we needed to see. Thank you for trusting us. He raised his hand. It wasn't a gesture of peace this time. The black ships above began to hum. Doors opened in their bellies. Smaller craft poured out like insects from a hive. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They spread across the sky, heading toward Greenhill and the surrounding villages. People screamed. They ran. They scattered in every direction. But there was nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Thomas grabbed Maria and Elena. Home. Now. They sprinted through the streets. Behind them, the alien craft descended. They moved with terrifying speed and precision. Beams of blue light shot down from them, striking buildings, which exploded into flames. Stone crumbled to dust. Thomas burst through his front door and slammed it shut. It was useless. He knew it was useless. But he didn't know what else to do. Maria was crying. Elena held her tight, tears streaming down her own face. Thomas looked out the window. The village was burning. The sky was full of alien ships. Beams of light cut through the air like knives. He saw Mrs. Chen's bakery collapse. He saw the fountain in the square shatter. He saw people running, falling, not getting up again. Papa, what's happening? Maria sobbed. Thomas pulled them both close. He had no answer, no comfort to give. The world had turned into a nightmare in minutes. Outside, Kale's voice boomed across the valley. It came from everywhere at once, amplified by alien technology. Do not resist. Resistance means death. Cooperation means survival. We are taking what we need. When we are finished, we will leave. Stay in your homes. Do not interfere. But people couldn't stay in their homes. Their homes were burning. They fled into the fields, into the forest, anywhere that might offer safety. The alien soldiers came next. They emerged from the landed craft in organized units. They wore armor that reflected no light. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. They moved through the village like a machine, efficient and merciless. Thomas watched them enter houses and emerge with armfuls of food, with bags of grain, with gold jewelry and silver candlesticks, with anything of value. They loaded everything onto floating platforms that drifted back to the ships. They went to the farms next. Cattle bellowed in terror as the aliens herded them onto the platforms. Sheep scattered but were rounded up by energy fields that formed invisible fences. Chickens squawked as they were grabbed by the dozens and thrown into crates. The wheat fields were harvested in minutes. Machines descended from the ships and cut the grain, processing it instantly and sucking it up into storage holds. Thomas saw his entire year's work disappear in less than an hour. But the worst was yet to come. Some people fought back. Of course they did. Farmers grabbed pitchforks and axes. Young men picked up stones. They charged at the aliens, desperate to protect their homes and families. The aliens didn't hesitate. Blue beams cut through the air. Bodies fell. Thomas saw Jacob Miller, a man he'd known for 30 years, vaporized in an instant. Just gone. Not even ashes remained. He saw young David Chin shot down as he tried to protect his mother's bakery. He saw Sarah Thompson's husband cut down as he swung an axe at an alien soldier. The weapon never landed. The man simply ceased to exist. Don't look, Thomas said to Maria, but she had already seen. Her eyes were wide with horror. She would never be the same child again. None of them would. The attack spread. The alien forces moved to the neighboring villages with brutal efficiency. From his window, Thomas could see smoke rising from Riverside, 2 miles east, then from Meadowbrook to the south, then from Hilltop to the north. One by one, all 11 villages fell. By nightfall, the aliens owned everything. By nightfall, the harvest was gone, the homes were ashes, and the sky belonged to the invaders. Greenhill's story had ended, but the battle for humanity was only beginning. Join us for Chapter 2 of The Visitors, only on Starborn Tales.